Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you my latest draft in Fantasy Premier League. It has changed a little bit since my previous drafts, which was about a week ago, but yeah, I'm going to talk you through all of my picks, all of my players, one by one. I'm going to start with the most important player in the squad, which is Haaland, spoilers. And then I'm going to end up with the 15th most important player, which is basically the player that I'm the most unsure about, or the least sure about, I guess is better English than the most unsure about. But anyways, let's just move straight into it and look at number one pick, which is Haaland. I can actually go through and look at like the first 5 picks because I think those guys are pretty much nailed. They've been in pretty much every single draft, and those guys are Saka, number 2, number 3 is Estupinian, number 4 is Rashford, and number 5 is Gabriel Magalhaes from Arsenal. So these 5 guys have pretty much been in every single draft, like I said. Haaland is still the most nailed. He's someone that I will never sell, at least before the season. Maybe he gets injured. Maybe he is not as good as he was last season, but he probably is. So yeah, Haaland really speaks for itself. Saka, I still think he's the most valued Arsenal player. I think even if he's not on penalties, because he missed a penalty in preseason, I still think he's going to be on penalties for what it's worth. But even if he's not on penalties, he is the best for in terms of being nailed, playing pretty much every game. He doesn't really have much competition at right wing. Being really lethal, he doesn't have the best expected goal numbers compared to the likes of, especially Gabriel Jesus, who I'm going to talk about later. But Saka's proven to always outperform his XG and XGI and stuff, so I'm not worried about Saka at all. I'm considering a couple other Arsenal attackers, but that would be on top of having Saka, not instead of Saka. So Estupinian is another player that I'm really sure about. He is probably the best defender in the whole game, if you ask me. He's so attacking. He plays for a team that could get a lot of clean sheets in Brighton. And yeah, they got a lot of clean sheets towards the end of last season with Steele in goal. And it seems like Steele is going to keep his place as well as the goalkeeper there after Robert Sanchez looked pretty terrible last season. But Estupinian, super attacking, fantastic fixtures. I'm not going to sell him in Game Week 4 and stuff, by the way. People have talked about selling him before the Newcastle game and some other difficult games, but I think he's just great value, and I think you should just keep him the whole season, really. So I think he's going to be this year's Trippier for me. The player that I'm going to keep from Game Week 1 until Game Week 38. No questions asked. He's just going to be that guy because he's nailed, super attacking, plays for a really good team, and he can get a lot more points than he did last season. The next player that also, well, actually it's not Gabriel yet, it's number 4, which is Rashford. There is a debate between Rashford or Bruno Fernandes, but I feel like you either go with Rashford or you go with both, and I might still go with both. That's one of the things that I might discuss towards the end of this video, potential changes to my team. But I think Rashford is the better pick. He scored more points last season. He had about the same underlying numbers, but he's just a more, decisive player, I think, for Man United. So I just prefer Rashford over Bruno Fernandes ever so slightly. Now that Rasmus Højlund is coming in for Man United, maybe Bruno Fernandes becomes a better player. It seems like Mount is playing the deeper role in midfield, so that allows Bruno Fernandes to be more attacking. So Bruno is definitely on my radar for only 8.5, but I still think Rashford is better. And like I said, it's going to be Rashford pretty much 95% sure, and then potentially I add Bruno on top of that. But Rashford is pretty much in the squad because he's so good, really. He's one of the best players in the league. Then we have Gabriel at number 5, my second most important defender, I feel like, behind Estupinian, just slightly behind Estupinian. The reason some people are not going with Gabriel is because they want to triple up on Arsenal attack, and that's something that I have considered slightly, but I'm also in between just having Saka and no other Arsenal attacker as well. So maybe not even double attack for Arsenal for me, but Gabriel defensively, he's always been a fancy favorite for me. 5.0, same price as always. Super goal threat and plays for a really good defense, especially now that Declan Rice is on board. They're getting Urian Timber as well, who can play when Saliba's injured. He can play at right back rather than Ben White. He can cover at left back as well. Much stronger defense, especially with Rice as well. Then they're also looking at adding David Raya in goal, and I think David Raya is a much better goalkeeper than Ramsdale personally, so I think that would help them defensively even more. So I think Gabriel, in his own right, is a super good defender to have, and he's also someone you can just chuck into your team and just never think about because he's 5.0. It's the cheapest you can go in defense is 4.0, and Gabriel is only $1 million more than that, so fantastic value for Gabriel. But that's pretty much the Fab 5 if you want to. Those 5 guys are pretty much staying in my team no matter what. I think it's going to be some injury or some major shift that's going to make me sell one of those guys. But number 6 is someone that is getting more and more nailed in my squad, and that is Mohamed Salah. He was picked number 6 last time I picked the squad as well, so he retains his place as the 6th most important player in my draft. I think Salah is a really nice way to be a differential, or he's going to be a really nice differential, especially in game week 2, where I'm going to captain him against Bournemouth at home rather than going with Haaland against Newcastle at home, because I feel like Newcastle at home, the best sort of, it's Haaland, so he could get a hat-trick at home, I guess, but against Newcastle, you rarely score more than 1 or 2 goals. I think Haaland will struggle to score more than 1. He probably gets 1 at least, but still, I think Salah can easily outscore that and potentially could explode past that against Bournemouth at home. Salah, I think Salah is so amazing. He plays for a better Liverpool side now as well. He had like his down year last season, and he still had the 3rd highest points in FPL. He was only like 30 points behind Haaland in the end, I think. Anyway, so yeah, Salah with the likes of Szoboszlai and McAllister, and then Trent as well being in better form, providing him with a lot of chances. I feel like Salah is going to be a fantastic pick. And if it doesn't work out, even if it does work out actually against Bournemouth, I might sell him in game week 3 because that gives me a lot of flexibility when Liverpool have a couple tough fixtures in Newcastle and Aston Villa. So I think that gives me a lot of flexibility. I can go down to someone like Kevin De Bruyne if he is really looking good. He's going to be really difficult to get for everyone else, but for me with Salah, I could easily downgrade and get more money for a better attacker, for example. So I think it puts me in a really good position to have Salah. I could also go with someone like Son, who might be really good this season. It seems like he was injured mostly last season, Son, and yeah, if he's back to full fitness, back to his Golden Boot winning ways, he's going to be a fantastic pick as well. So I think being able to go to Son or De Bruyne in game week 3, on top of having Salah as captaincy choice in game week 2, is a really good offer. So I think that's why I'm going with Salah, even though he's not completely template by like FPL expert or FPL content creator standards, at least. But I think it's worth it, and I'm probably going to do a video entirely based on Salah and why you should go for him, and probably some reason why you should not go for him. There are some reasons for like not picking him at all as well, but I'm going to get into that more in that video. So let's move on to the draft. And my first new player in this squad, and that is someone that is in a lot of squads now actually, and that is John Stones. So the problem with Man City defenders has always been how many games do they play. But I feel like, especially City now with Pep Guardiola, they have sold Gundogan, or Gundogan has gone to Barcelona for free. Riyad Mahrez has moved on. Kyle Walker might be moving on as well. I feel like they really need to have all the experienced players that they have at their disposal playing a lot of matches, with so many like experienced players going out. So I think Stones is going to play a lot of matches, and he's going to play in that advanced like sort of midfielder role where he plays pretty much just outside the box. So I even bought him towards the end of last season, and obviously he was rested Pep Roulette back then because last season was terrible for me. But Stones, I think from the start of the season, I think he's going to play pretty much every match. And if Stones plays pretty much every match, he is fantastic value. He rivals Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of probably not attacking returns, but coupled with the better defense from Man City, I feel like Stones could be just as good of a pick for much less than Trent, who is obviously absent from this team. But Stones pretty much a dead cert in my team right now. I think these 7 guys are pretty certain. The number 8 guy as well. Pretty sure about Mbeumo. He scored a penalty today in the friendly match for Brentford against Aston Villa. Really fun 3-3 match. But I think also that's another point with Brentford. They are conceding a lot of goals, so in preseason at least. So that means that they have to go forward. They have to score a lot of goals themselves. And I think Mbeumo is the best bet for you if you want to go with a Brentford attacker. There is Young Wissa, who I've praised before. I really like Wissa, but I think Mbeumo, on top of having penalties, he is completely nailed. He's going to play every single game, probably 90 minutes. Meanwhile, Wissa is the type of player who usually gets subbed off. Thomas Frank has been using him like a rotational player the last few seasons. So if someone like Kevin Shaw there, who's like a big money signing, record-breaking signing really for them. He broke the record of Keane Lewis-Potter, who's also a really good attacking player for Brentford. Like, they have a lot of potential players that could take Wissa's place. That's why I feel like Mbeumo is the better pick. I'm also going to do a video on that. FPL Versus, going to compare the likes of Mitoma against Joao Pedro. I'm going to compare Mbeumo and Wissa, like I said, and some other players from the same team, and see just who's the better pick. So that's also something you can look forward to in the future. But now we're going to move on with the draft. I'm really a big fan of Mbeumo. I still think there are some other really good 6.5 midfielders. Diaby is one that has really caught my attention, or he already had my attention because he's such a good player, but scored 2 goals in preseason so far, and he's looking really good. But Mbeumo is still my favorite 6.5 midfielder from the start of the season. So that's why he's still in the squad. He's still number 8, or he is number 8. He was number 7 last week, but Stones knocked him down a little peg. But I still think Mbeumo is going to be in my Game Week 1 squad. Pretty certain about that. Moving on, we also have another guy who is pretty locked into my team. I might go with a more expensive Spurs defender. That's also something I'm going to discuss in the FPL versus type of video I'm going to do pretty soon in the next few days. That's going to be posted. But Destiny Udogie is a fantastic player, super attacking. He fits the profile much better than Pedro Porro, I think, for Tottenham. The profile of Ange Postecoglou, the way he plays offensively, he needs his fullbacks to be able to go cut inside and not just stay at the touchline, but cut inside to the middle of the pitch and really be like more like if you look at what Liverpool have done the past few seasons with Robertson as sort of like the driving, going forward, get involved inside the pitch type of guy, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold is more on the edge, crossing it. That's sort of the profile difference between Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro. And I feel like in Postecoglou's system, he prefers the type of player like Destiny Udogie who goes into the box rather than staying out on the touchline. So yeah, I think I made my point there pretty clear, saying it a couple times in a row. But Udogie, offensive, really good. Not 100% sure about Spurs defensively at the start, but he's also just 4.5, so he could easily be benched. He could easily be stacked for the end, or not the end of the season, but for the next few game weeks, for like give me 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, when Spurs have really good fixtures at that point as well. So I think Udogie is someone you could just save in your team. That's also why I sort of prefer him over Pedro Porro, because he's 0.5 cheaper. So he's someone that you can bench more easily, someone you can just keep in your team more easily as well. So really big fan of Udogie, and I think he could be one of the best value players in this whole game this season. So I think he's a great pick as well. Then we come to the number 10 pick, and this is the guy that I'm getting more and more worried about. That is Gabriel Jesus. It's not particularly because of Jesus. I know what he provides. I had him for so much of last season. He had a lot of chances to score that he missed. Had a lot of chances to get a lot of points that he missed for me. That was super frustrating for me last season. That's sort of why I'm not 100% keen on owning him. But it's just that fixture against Nottingham Forest at home in the first match. They don't have a left back at all. Jesus is going to be instrumental for Arsenal this season. I know he didn't get any points in like a 5-0 win they had in preseason, but he's still a really good pick. But it's still just a little bit of doubt about Jesus, or however you pronounce it. That makes me question him a little bit. I might go for someone like Martinelli in midfield instead, but I also might just go with some of the other attacking options, because there are some other really nice attacking options proving themselves to be really good in preseason. Especially the two Chelsea attackers. You have Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson. They both look amazing. They also cost a little bit less than Jesus. And if I, for example, downgraded Jesus to Nicholas Jackson, that could also give me another attacking asset that I'll talk about at the end of this video when I talk about the final attacker, because my final attacker is actually my final pick as well. There's just a little bit of spoilers there. But anyways, my next pick, number 11, it is my backup goalkeeper, Alfonso Areola. He is still the best 4.0 goalkeeper, because there is a chance that he might start him. It seems like from preseason as well, Moyes has been using Areola and Fabianski sort of like 50-50, so it seems like he's also not 100% sure who he's going to start the season with, but Areola has a decent chance of being a starting goalkeeper for 4.0 for a West Ham team that I'm a West Ham fan, and personally I don't really have much faith in West Ham this season. The transfer window has been terrible. The fans are pretty upset. Seems like David Moyes is struggling. He just won a trophy, obviously, because West Ham are a big trophy-winning club, because we are a huge club, but we're massive. But yeah, it seems like West Ham are struggling a bit. So Areola might not be the best pick, but he's still only just a backup goalkeeper, really. But for my starting goalkeeper, this is another change to my team. And in, for me, comes Johnston. He even has the previous kit, because I used to have Flecken, and Flecken's goalkeeper kit is what is shown in this graphic. What can you do? It's I could probably edit that in post, so yeah, I'll edit that in post. But anyways, Johnston, I feel like, is a really good goalkeeper. He was one of the best goalkeepers in the entire league, or in the entire game last season, when he came on and played the final few matches for Crystal Palace after Guaita was the starting goalkeeper at the start of the season. And Johnston gets a lot of saves, gets some bonus potential. I think Crystal Palace were like 4th best for expected goals conceded the whole last season. Under Hodgson, they looked a lot better than they did under Vieira as well. So I think Johnston is the best 4.5 goalkeeper. There's also the chance of going up to someone like Onana. He is the most popular goalkeeper in the game. It feels like, at least, especially amongst like FPL Twitter or FPL X, as you call it now, Reddit and all that type of stuff, it seems like Onana is the most favored goalkeeper. But I also don't really like using a Man United spot on goalkeeper, because I feel like the goalkeepers, I just want to stick with the goalkeeper the whole season, or at least until the first wildcard. And I plan on saving my wildcard for as long as I can, really. So yeah, I think Johnston, especially also with the first game week, he plays Sheffield United, who are selling NDI their best forward in the whole game. So I feel like they can start strong, get a clean sheet there. They have Arsenal and Brentford, which is tough fixtures, but that's always going to happen with goalkeepers. And with the lesser teams, you get more saves. So Johnston might get some bonus points and stuff, even if he does concede. Might save a penalty, who knows. So I feel like Johnston is the best goalkeeper currently in the game for only 4.5. So that's why I have him. Next up, we have my backup defender, and that is George Baldock. I have been thinking about doing Jared Branthwaite as well for Everton, but it's just the fact that I'm not 100% sure if he starts. And Baldock is super offensive as well. He scored a really nice goal in preseason. He's going to be the right wing back for Sheffield United, and for 4.0, that is fantastic from the guy who scored like 146 points, I think, in his first FPL season. And he got a price rise to 5.5 million, which is crazy now in hindsight with the prices that we have now for defenders. But it just shows you that there's a lot of value to be had in defense. So I'm pretty happy with my defense. Some might say I need Chilwell as well, because he's also super popular, but it's also something I'm going to discuss later on when we look at the template team towards the end of this video. Next up, we have the midfielder bench option, and that is Ahamada. I don't know how you say it, but anyways, he has played a lot of minutes for Crystal Palace this preseason, with Mikael Olise injured for like a long while. It seems like Hodgson has said like you won't be seeing Olise for a while. So I think Ahamada has a decent chance of starting regularly for Palace, and in an attacking position at that. So for 4.5, he's actually a really solid pick. It's just that the fact that I might go with 5 in midfield, that's the reason he's number 14, because I feel like there's so many good midfielders, so wasting a spot on a 4.5 midfielder might not be the best, especially considering I also have a 4.5 attacker as my final guy. Divine Mubama for West Ham, really promising youngster, and I feel like he fits David Moyes' system much better than the likes of Scamacca and Ings. So if Michail Antonio leaves, Michail Antonio is obviously the best fit for David Moyes' system, but if he leaves, I feel like Mubama is pretty much the best choice. It seems like Scamacca just wants to go to Italy, and it seems like Ings is balding and is getting older, and he's not that good anymore. He's just more like a bit part player. We know Ings can't play every game week either, so if Antonio leaves and they don't get a replacement, and it seems like West Ham are struggling to get a replacement for anyone, they still haven't replaced Declan Rice, who they knew they were going to sell this summer. So I feel like Mubama is a decent pick. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes as a sub. He's going to get minutes in Europa League, Europa League, because we're in Europa League this season. But yeah, he's going to get a lot of chances to prove himself, and I think he has the talent to prove himself and be the starting striker eventually for West Ham. He might have like a sort of like an Evan Ferguson type of season for West Ham. He might not be as good as Evan Ferguson, because Evan Ferguson is amazing, but I think Mubama is a fantastic pick. So that's pretty much the whole team. One major change is Stones in. Obviously, that means that I have done some transfer out as well, and that's what I'm going to show you right above me here. In my previous draft, there are 4 players that I don't have anymore. Flecken, obviously, his goalkeeper kit still remains, but I sold him. Flecken has not looked good in preseason at all. So even though David Raya, it seems like he's going to Arsenal now, or potentially Bayern Munich, it seems like Arsenal is more in play right now. But I think Flecken is going to be the starting goalkeeper, but it doesn't seem like he's been that good. It seems like he's struggling a bit to fit into what Brentford want from him. So yeah, just a little bit of doubt with Flecken means that I'd rather go with Johnston, and I think I'm pretty certain about Johnston being a good pick as well. So, but at the end of the day, it's the 4.5 goalkeeper. It's not the biggest decision in the world. I kind of just want to pick the goalkeepers and just forget about them for the rest of the season, because there are so many fun, fantastic picks to go for offensively, especially. So some of the guys that I've dropped as well. In attack, obviously I said Mubama is the best 4.5 attacker, so I sold Hwang Uyo, who had the funniest name for a 4.5 attacker, so that's why I had him previously. He also looked decent for Forest in preseason, but anyways, I dropped him because Mubama is just a better 4.5 pick at the moment. In defense, I had Wan-Bissaka. I don't have a single Man United defender, which is sort of a worry for me, but I don't know. Wan-Bissaka is not 100% nailed. I feel like with Stones in, I don't really need Wan-Bissaka. I could go with Wan-Bissaka rather than Udogie, but I don't know. I feel like Udogie is sort of my guy. I sort of have to back him now because I've been pretty high on him all preseason. So yeah, Wan-Bissaka still a great pick. I think he's, I don't know, I'm going to compare him and Shaw as well in one of those versus videos that I'm going to post. But yeah, you could also go with Onana in Man United defense. Like I said, not 100% sure about having a goalkeeper from a top 6 side though, so that's why I'm sort of hesitant with Onana. But anyways, those are the Man United options defensively, and I have none of them. But I also have sold Maxwell Cornet since last time. Obviously, don't really know if he's going to start as a striker. That's why I brought him in last drafts, because I was talking about the potential strikers for West Ham, and I didn't mention Cornet, and he might actually be the starting striker for West Ham because David Moyes really likes to use wingers as forwards, as he has shown with Arnautovic. He turned him from a winger to a forward successfully. He did the same with Mikel Antonio, and it seems like Maxwell Cornet might be his newest pet project sort of thing. So maybe he plays as a striker, but for 5.5, you don't really know if he's going to start at all. So downgrading him to Ahamada and then getting Stones in for Wan-Bissaka seems like an easy move really for me. So those are really the changes that I made. The things that I'm considering now, as you can see, Gabriel Jesus is number 10 in terms of importance for me. I might downgrade him to Nicholas Jackson and then upgrade Mubama to Joao Pedro, because I think Joao Pedro is fantastic. I think he's going to start as the number 10 for Brighton mostly. It seems like he might be on pens, so he might be like the new McAllister, who was like the popular pick last season. Obviously, it's a very different profile of player, but I feel like they wouldn't have brought Joao Pedro if they weren't going to play him, because they have Enciso already in that position. If they didn't bring in Joao Pedro, everyone would have Enciso in their team. But the fact that they brought in Joao Pedro, even though they have Enciso, it means that they have a lot of faith in him. So I feel like he's going to be pretty good for minutes. And the fact that he's so versatile as well, he can play as a striker, he can play as a left winger, he can play as the right winger as well as playing as the number 10. So I feel like Joao Pedro is going to be a really good pick. And with penalties, he didn't have the best goal scoring record for Watford last season, but he plays for a much better team. He has a lot of talent. He hasn't really shown his full potential yet. So I feel like that's a really good option for me as well, going with Jesus to Jackson and Mubama to Joao Pedro. So that's something I'm really considering. I'm also considering Branthwaite, like I said, for the final defender. And when it comes to the midfielders, I feel like Ahamada is the best option currently. Nakamba is going to play every week, but he's going to get 2 points every week. So what's the difference really? You're going to get him like, I think the way I'm thinking about it with Nakamba and why I don't really like him that much is if you're going into a game week with Nakamba as a starter, you're going to want to do a -4 hit to bring in someone else rather than starting Nakamba, because you know you're going to just get 2 points. It's really boring. I personally, I'd like to have 11 players that could get points. So yeah, this is probably going to bite me in the ass when Nakamba scores like 2 goals randomly and everyone has him for some reason. But anyways, that's why I prefer guys like Ahamada, who is not as nailed, but he could get some more points if he actually plays. So yeah, that's pretty much the team. Like I said, I was going to discuss something else, and that is the FPL guide that you can visit on thevideoscope.com/FPL guide. The link will be in the description for this video. So you can check out the guide there, because there's a lot of interesting stuff. As you can see the latest video that I've posted. So if you're going to the guide now, this is probably the same video you'll see there. So it'll be a bit of inception for you, I guess. But yeah, you can see there are a lot of different things in this guide. You have a couple squad suggestions, the template squad that I'm going to look at pretty soon, the differential squad with players completely different from the template squad, the early wildcard squad if you want to wildcard early and do a bench boost in game week 1 as well. Pretty fun option for you if you want to go get a head start. And then we also have the whole season squad, or the zombie team as I like to call them, which is basically where you pick the same team to start from game week 1 until game week 38. See how many points you get without doing a single transfer. I made a video on like the best zombie teams of the past few seasons that you could watch as well. So that's also going to be linked with this video. But you can also find info about when you should use your chips. There's also new player reviews for all the new players that have joined the Fantasy Premier League this season. New manager reviews. We only have Postecoglou so far, but I'm going to do Areola this week. I'm pretty certain about it. Then we have a couple. We have Winston Company. We have Edwards as well. Might do those. I'm not 100% sure, because those teams are kind of not that important really in FPL. But I really want to take a close look at Bournemouth, because that is going to play into my decision to captain Salah in game week 2 or not. Because if Bournemouth look like a decent team under Areola, then maybe Salah isn't the best option. So that's something I'm going to check out for sure. Then you also have starting lineups for all 20 teams. There's also a video about that you can check out. That's a little bit outdated though, but if you go to the guide, there's updated squads for every single team, or updated lineups, I should say, for every single team, where I try to predict the starting 11 for all 20 teams in Fantasy Premier League. Then we have the set piece takers. This is also updated every day. Chilwell took all the free kicks, or the corners at least, for Chelsea today, so he is #1 for corners for Chelsea. You can see all the other players who take set pieces in this list as well. And then also who you can follow for FPL tips, guys like Ben Krellin, who makes the fantastic like fixture takers and stuff, where you can see when people have double game weeks and stuff. Some fun guys to follow there, and then just update info and stuff. But like I said, I was going to talk about the template squad. As you can see, this is the current template squad. That is the most picked among at least what I see online. It's a bit different in terms of general ownership. You have guys like Salah, Trippier, Shaw, who are really highly owned. But when you look through like Reddit and stuff like that, FPL, Twitter, FPLX, whatever you want to call it, these are mostly the guys that show up. And there's been a big change, because I actually just fixed this team, because there's been a pretty big change. A lot of people really like Chilwell now. Trent Alexander-Arnold is getting less and less popular by the day, it seems like, because people have realized there are really good defenders for a much cheaper price who could offer pretty close to what Trent can do. And also Trent hasn't looked that good lately in preseason as well. It doesn't seem like he's as offensive as people expected him to be. So yeah, that's sort of why he has dropped from the template squad. But as you can see, Stones, Chilwell, this is pretty similar to my team, but you also have Bruno Fernandes on top of Rashford, rather than Salah though. But you also have Mitoma. No Brighton player in my squad, which is, or apart from Estupinan, but offensively, no Brighton players, which is really worrying for me, because they play Luton at home, first match. It seems like it's a super simple match. Maybe Luton are better than what we give them credit for, but still, I think that's the best match you can ask for, really. Wolverhampton away in the second game week. Sure, Wolves might be good at home. They were good at home last season, towards the end of the season. I think they might even have... Oh, they lost completely. They got destroyed by Brighton, by the way. So yeah, that's another point in their favor. And then in the third game week, they play West Ham, and Brighton always destroy West Ham. I know that as a West Ham fan. So I feel unsure about not having a Brighton attacker in my squad, I have to say. But this is the template squad. You can also do the template squad and have Joe Pedro rather than Mitoma, and have someone else for 5.5 here, or you can downgrade that to Ahamada and upgrade someone else. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the template squad as well, but check out the squads in the guide. Check out, yeah, pretty much everything else in the guide. Keep tabs on it. You can bookmark it, or you can, you could just subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll promote it quite a lot as well. So yeah, that's a lot of commercial, a lot of ads, a lot of a lot of plugs for the FPL guide. But please check it out. I'm trying to update it as much as possible. Trying to make some fun videos for you as well here in at the FPL Scope YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Been rambling for a bit. That's what you get from this channel. And with that, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye, good night, good morning, good whatever it is, whatever time you're watching this. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a fantastic Fantasy Premier League season, because you're going to finish behind me, but that's okay. Okay, see you next time.